An arrogant UFC champion calls out an elderly Chinese restaurant owner, mocking his fake kung fu in front of his senior students and shoving the 70-year-old man to the ground. The cocky fighter live streams the humiliation to millions, offering $100,000 if the old fraud can last even one round with him. The community center needs that money desperately, and the gentle restaurant owner quietly accepts the challenge. But what this punk doesn't realize is that Jimmy Chen is actually Jackie Chan, the legendary Hong Kong cop who did his own death-defying stunts and put criminals away with his bare hands. The UFC champion struts into the ring expecting to destroy a helpless old man, while Jackie walks in with the fluid grace of a master who's been waiting 15 years for his past to find him. The sold-out arena thinks they're about to witness elder abuse, but they're actually seconds away from seeing why some legends choose to hide their true power. What happens when modern MMA brutality meets ancient martial arts mastery? Can the champion even survive the first minute? What happened next would haunt the bully for the rest of his pathetic existence. Before we jump back and tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The desert sun painted Phoenix in shades of amber as Jimmy Chen moved through his morning Tai Chi on the rooftop of the Golden Dragon restaurant. At 70, his movements flowed like water over stone, each gesture precise and unhurried. The city stirred below, delivery trucks rumbling past as the first hints of breakfast smoke rose from neighboring buildings. By 5:45, Jimmy descended to his kitchen, where 40 years of cooking had worn smooth grooves in the wooden floor. His hands, weathered but steady, began the familiar dance of preparation. Pork for the siu mai, shrimp for har gow, the rhythmic chopping creating a meditation of its own. The walls told stories and photographs. Hong Kong skyline from the 70s and 80s, faces turned away or artfully obscured, moments frozen in time, but identities hidden. Jimmy paused at one particular photo, adjusting its frame with the lightest touch before returning to his work. At exactly 6 a.m., the bell above the door chimed. "Morning, Jimmy." Pete Rodriguez filled the doorway, his Vietnam veteran cap slightly askew, gray beard neatly trimmed. "Coffee ready?" "Always. For you, my friend." Jimmy's English carried the soft edges of Cantonese, warm as the cup he poured. "How's the hip today?" "Better than yesterday. Worse than 20 years ago." Pete settled into his usual booth. "You teaching at the center today?" "Thursday. Always Thursday." Jimmy set down Pete's regular breakfast. 2 eggs over easy. Wheat toast, no butter. As he turned back to the kitchen, a plate slipped from the counter. Without looking, his foot swept up, catching the falling china and flipping it back to his waiting hand. Pete whistled low. "One of these days you'll tell me where you learned those circus tricks. Maybe when you tell me about that scar on your shoulder." Jimmy's smile crinkled the corners of his eyes as he returned to the kitchen. The morning rush began in earnest. Regulars filled their usual tables, the rhythm of the restaurant as familiar as breathing. Jimmy moved between kitchen and dining room with an economy of motion that made the work look effortless. At 7:30, Lucy burst through the door, her medical textbooks clutched against her chest. "Grandfather, I'm sorry I'm late." "Shoo." Jimmy handed her an apron. "You need to eat first. MCAT studies are important, but not on empty stomach." She grabbed toast while tying her hair back. "I can help until 9, then I have to get to the hospital." "You work too hard. Look who's talking." She bumped his shoulder affectionately. "The man who opens at 6 and closes at 10. The morning news droned from the corner television, the anchor's voice bright with forced enthusiasm. And in sports news, UFC heavyweight champion Razor Steel arrives in Phoenix tomorrow for a charity event at the convention center. The controversial fighter, known for his brutal knockouts and social media presence, promises to. Jimmy glanced at the screen, his expression unchanged. A young man with a mohawk and tattoos flexed for the camera, his mouth moving in what was surely another boastful prediction. "You ever watch these fights, Jimmy?" Pete called from his booth. "Sometimes." Jimmy wiped his hands on his apron. "Not much skill anymore. Just anger and muscle." Outside, Phoenix continued its morning ritual, unaware that in less than 24 hours, the quiet rhythm of the Golden Dragon would shatter like a dropped plate on concrete. The Gulfstream G650 touched down at Sky Harbor Airport as the morning heat shimmered off the tarmac. Razor steel emerged first, his 6'4" frame, filling the aircraft door, platinum mohawk catching the sun like a blade. He wore a tank top that displayed arms covered in tribal tattoos, each line supposedly representing a defeated opponent. "Phoenix, your boy is here," he shouted to his phone, live streaming for his 3 million followers. About to show these desert rats what real fighting looks like. Behind him, Duke Morrison descended with practiced elegance. At 55, he moved like a man who'd learned to navigate dangerous waters without making ripples. His tailored suit cost more than most people's cars, and his eyes held the cold calculation of a poker player counting cards. "Remember," Morrison said quietly, "charity events at 3. Try not to break anything before then." "Whatever." Steele flexed for his camera. "Where we hitting first? I need to get my pump on." Their convoy of black Escalades cut through Phoenix traffic like sharks through water. Steele dominated the middle vehicle, his crew, Tank Williams, his coach, and 3 social media handlers, cramped around his sprawling presence. "Yo, check this out." Steele pointed at a gym they passed. "Desert Strong MMA. More like Desert Week, am I right?" He cackled at his own joke while his handlers dutifully filmed. Tank Williams shifted uncomfortably. 20 years of training fighters had taught him to read the signs, and something about this trip felt wrong. Morrison had been too insistent, too specific about their schedule. "Maybe we should review the charity event details," Tank suggested. "Details?" Steele snorted. "I show up, I look good, I sign some autographs. What else is there?" They passed the Sunshine Community Center, its faded yellow paint and hand-lettered sign catching Morrison's attention. He leaned forward, studying the board announcing Senior Self-Defense Class today, 2 p.m. "Stop the car," Morrison ordered. "What? Why?" Steele looked up from his phone. "I know that place." Morrison's lips curved in what might have been a smile on a warmer face. "Used to be a boxing gym back in the day. Now it's—" He read the sign again. "Senior Self-Defense. How pathetic." Steele's eyes lit up with cruel inspiration. "Yo, that's content right there. Me visiting the old folks, maybe showing them what real fighting looks like. My fans would eat that up." "The charity event," Tank started, "isn't until 3. Morrison finished smoothly. "We have time for a detour." At the Marriott, Steele made his entrance count. He grabbed the doorframe and executed a series of pull-ups, his 245 pounds of muscle moving with surprising ease. On the final rep, the frame cracked, plaster raining down. "Oops." He laughed, not bothering to look at the damage. "Better build stronger hotels, Phoenix." In the penthouse suite, Morrison stepped onto the balcony for privacy. He dialed a number from memory. "It's me," he said when someone answered. "I found him. After all these years of looking. Jimmy Chen is here in Phoenix." The voice on the other end spoke rapidly. "No, I'm certain. Same movements, same build, even the same humble act. He's teaching self-defense to seniors at a community center." Morrison's knuckles whitened as he gripped the railing. 40 years I've waited. 40 years since that night in Hong Kong when he cost me everything." The Sunshine Community Center wore its age like a comfortable sweater, faded but warm, frayed but welcoming. Jimmy Chen arrived at 1:45, his movements unhurried despite the Phoenix heat. He carried a small bag containing nothing more threatening than water bottles and a first aid kit. Inside, his students had already gathered in the activities room. Dorothy Walsh practiced her balance exercises, one hand on her walker for support. Harold Kim stretched his shoulders, the arthritis particularly stubborn today. Maria Santos chatted with the others, her nervous energy filling the space with rapid Spanish and English. "Mr. Jimmy," Dorothy beamed as he entered. "I've been practicing that wrist release you showed us." "Good, good. But remember, gentle redirection, not force." She demonstrated the movement, her form surprisingly accurate despite the walker. Jimmy smiled. "Perfect. You're a natural teacher, Dorothy." They began with simple warm-ups, movements designed for bodies that had seen 7 decades or more. Jimmy watched each student carefully, adjusting a stance here, correcting an angle there. His touch was light but precise, communicating more through gesture than words. "Today we practice avoiding grabs," he announced. "Remember, we don't fight. We redirect. We survive." He demonstrated with Harold volunteering. The Korean War veteran reached for Jimmy's wrist in slow motion. Jimmy pivoted slightly, his body flowing like smoke, and suddenly Harold's hand grasped only air. You see? No strength needed. Only understanding of movement. They practiced in pairs, laughter mixing with concentration. Maria partnered with Dorothy, both women giggling as they fumbled through the techniques. This wasn't about creating warriors. It was about giving them confidence, community, connection. At 2:15, the double doors burst open. Razor steel filled. The entrance like a storm cloud, his entourage spreading behind him. Camera phones rose like weapons, red recording lights blinking to life. Yo, 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 what do we have here? Steele's voice boomed across the room. Kung Fu theater for the Medicare crowd? The seniors froze. Dorothy's hand tightened on her walker. Harold stepped protectively closer to Maria. Jimmy moved forward, his voice calm. This is a private class. Please, we ask you to check this out, guys. Steele addressed his cameras, circling Jimmy like a predator. Grandpa here thinks he's Mr. Miyagi or something. Wax on, wax off, right, old man? He mimicked the movements Jimmy had been teaching, turning graceful redirects into mockery. His crew laughed on cue, the sound sharp as breaking glass. Sir, please leave. Jimmy's tone remained level. You're frightening my students. Frightening. Steele's grin widened. That's the point, Gramps. Real fighting is frightening. Not this dance recital bullshit. Tell you what, Steele continued, playing to his audience. Show me one technique. One real move that would work against someone like me. There's nothing to prove here, Jimmy replied. Because it's all fake, right? Just like I've been saying. Traditional martial arts are dead. He reached for Jimmy's wrist, intending to demonstrate a real grip. Jimmy shifted his weight imperceptibly, beginning to redirect, and then he saw Morrison in the doorway. Recognition flickered for just an instant before Jimmy deliberately broke his own balance, stumbling backward. Steele's hand closed on air as Jimmy fell, looking every inch the clumsy old man. You see that? Steele roared with laughter. Dude can't even stand up straight. This is what you're learning? How to fall down. The cameras captured everything. Jimmy's students watched in horror as their teacher lay sprawled on the worn linoleum, Steele standing over him like a conqueror. Lucy Chen's smartphone buzzed incessantly as she reviewed patient charts at Phoenix General. She ignored it until her shift break, then watched in growing horror as the video played across her screen. UFC champ exposes fake Kung Fu master blazed. Across the thumbnail. 2 million views. 3 million. The number climbed as she watched. There was her grandfather, sprawled on the community center floor while a tattooed giant mocked him. The comments section was a cesspool of cruelty and laughing emojis. Her hands shook as she called the restaurant. No answer. Of course, dinner rush was starting. By the time she reached the Golden Dragon, news vans had already gathered outside. She pushed through the crowd of reporters and curious onlookers to find her grandfather calmly serving spring rolls to a full dining room. Grandfather, not now, Lucy. His voice carried that particular tone that brooked no argument. Table 6 needs their check. She grabbed an apron and fell into the familiar rhythm, but her eyes kept finding his. He moved with the same fluid. Grace as always, but something had shifted. The easy smile seemed forced, the gentle humor absent. After the last customer left, they sat in the kitchen while Lucy pulled up the video on her tablet. Jimmy watched without expression as his humiliation played out in high definition. He attacked you, Lucy said. We can file assault charges. He grabbed my wrist. Nothing more. But the video shows an old man falling down. Jimmy's voice was carefully neutral. Nothing more. The bell above the door chimed. Pete Rodriguez entered, followed by Dorothy, Harold, and several other students from the class. Jimmy, we saw the news, Pete said. That punk had no right. It's done. Jimmy began wiping down tables that were already clean. No harm was caused. No harm. Harold's voice cracked with indignation. My grandson saw that video. He says I'm wasting my time learning from a fraud. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Jimmy's hands stilled on the table. Dorothy spoke up, her voice trembling. The community center called. They're concerned about liability. If you can't even protect yourself, they want to cancel the classes? Lucy asked. Not yet, Maria said. But the insurance company is asking questions. Lucy's tablet chimed. She looked down and her face went pale. Grandfather, he's calling you out. On screen, Razor Steel stood before a wall of championship belts, Morrison beside him like a well-dressed shadow. Since our little encounter went viral, Steel smirked at the camera. I'm feeling generous. Phoenix Community Center needs money, right? I'll donate 100 grand if the fake master can last just one round with me. 60 seconds. That's all. He leaned closer to the camera. But we all know he won't accept. These frauds never do. They prey on the weak and elderly, giving them false confidence. Someone needs to expose them. The video ended with Morrison's smooth voice. Mr. Chen has 48 hours to respond. After that, we'll assume he admits what everyone now knows. He's a charlatan taking advantage of vulnerable seniors. Nancy Huang arrived 20 minutes later, her professional composure cracking at the edges. Jimmy, I'm sorry to do this, but the board is in emergency session. We're looking at an $80,000 shortfall. Without that money, the center closes. Jimmy finished. The meal program, the veterans support group, the senior activities, it all goes away. Nancy's hands twisted together. I'm not saying you should fight. I would never ask that. But 100,000 would save everything, Harold said bitterly. Jimmy looked at each face in turn. These people who'd become his family, his community, his purpose. I need time to think, Jimmy said finally. But in his eyes, Lucy saw something that made her stomach clench. The decision was already made. Lucy found her grandfather on the restaurant roof at dawn, standing motionless in the morning light. His Tai Chi had ended, but he remained frozen in the final position, as if the weight of his decision had turned him to stone. You're going to accept, she said. It wasn't a question. Jimmy's shoulders relaxed minutely. The community center feeds 300 seniors every week. Veterans get counseling there. Children have somewhere safe after school. And you could die in that ring. Lucy's voice cracked. He's 28 years old, grandfather. He weighs 80 pounds more than you. He hurts people for a living. I know what he is. Jimmy finally turned to face her. I also know what I am. Do you? She searched his face. Because sometimes I wonder if I know you at all. The way you move, the things you notice, those reflexes. Lucy, no. She pulled out her phone, showing him screenshots from old Hong Kong newspapers she'd found online. The images were grainy, the faces obscured, but the stance of a young police officer was unmistakable. Who were you before you became Jimmy Chen? He was quiet for a long moment. Someone who made promises. To serve. To protect. Those promises don't end because you change your name. This isn't Hong Kong. You're not that person anymore. Geography doesn't change who we are. He touched her cheek gently. You became a healer because you must heal. I became a protector because I must protect. The morning brought Pete, Rodriguez, Dorothy, and Maria to the restaurant. They found Jimmy preparing dim sum as if it were any other day. We don't want you to fight, Dorothy said immediately. We were wrong to pressure you. Nobody pressured me. Jimmy continued folding dumplings with mechanical precision. This is my choice. Then we'll stand with you, Pete declared. Whatever training you need, whatever support. No. Jimmy's tone was final. This is my path to walk. Dr. Emma Watson arrived next, Lucy's supervisor from the hospital. Mr. Chen, Lucy asked me to review your latest physical. Your health is remarkable, but that doesn't mean I understand the risks. Do you? Dr. Watson leaned forward. Traumatic. Brain injury. Broken bones. Internal bleeding. At your age, even a single punch could. Doctor, I appreciate your concern. Jimmy's hands never stopped working. But the decision is made. That afternoon, Morrison arrived at the restaurant with a briefcase full of documents. His smile was sharp as winter ice. Mr. Chen, so good to see you again after all these years. Jimmy met his gaze steadily. State your business. Just the paperwork. Waivers, releases, sanctioning requirements. Morrison spread the papers across a table. The athletic commission wasn't thrilled, but money talks. You understand. I understand more than you know. Morrison's smile widened. I'm counting on it. You know, Razor doesn't know who you really are. He thinks you're just some deluded old man. But I know better. I remember Hong Kong. I remember what you cost me. You cost yourself everything. I just held up a mirror. Philosophy. Morrison's laugh was ugly. Let's see how philosophical you feel when you're bleeding on the canvas. Jimmy signed each document without reading them. his signature steady. 1 round, Morrison said as he gathered the papers. 60 seconds. Try to make it entertaining. After he left, Lucy emerged from the kitchen where she'd been listening. He knows who you are. Yes. This isn't about the money. It's revenge. Jimmy resumed making dumplings. Sometimes the past refuses to stay buried, but perhaps some good can come from its resurrection. The Phoenix sun hammered down on the elite MMA gym as news crews gathered outside. Inside, Razor Steel destroyed a heavy bag with combinations that would have hospitalized most men. Each impact echoed through the space like a gunshot. That's it, champ, Morrison called out, holding the bag steady. Channel that power. 3 days until you end this fraud's career. Steel's fists were hammers, his kicks like baseball bats. The bag split at the seams, sand spilling onto the mat. He didn't stop until it hung empty and torn. Too easy. He flexed for the cameras. Just like the old man's gonna be. Across town, Jimmy maintained his routine with monastic discipline. Morning Tai Chi on the roof, breakfast service, afternoon preparation. To anyone watching, nothing had changed. But Tank Williams was watching. The veteran trainer had driven by the Golden Dragon 3 times, Morrison's warnings echoing in his head. Stay away from Chen. Focus on Steel. Something felt wrong. Morrison's obsession with this fight went beyond normal promotion. Tank had seen the gleam in his manager's eyes, the same look he'd had before fighters got seriously hurt. At the community center, Jimmy taught his Thursday class as always. The seniors moved through their exercises with newfound determination, as if preparing for their own battle. Remember, Jimmy told them, true strength isn't about dominating others. It's about controlling yourself. Like you're controlling yourself? Harold asked pointedly. By fighting a man who could kill you? By choosing when and how to act? Jimmy adjusted Dorothy's stance. Not from anger or pride. From purpose. That evening, Tank finally approached Steel during his rest period. Duke's got you hitting harder than ever, Tank observed carefully. Your testosterone levels must be through the roof. All natural, baby. Steel downed a protein shake Morrison had prepared. Just pure rage and genetics. Tank noted the slight tremor in Steel's hands, the dilated pupils, the excessive sweating even during rest. He'd seen it before in fighters Morrison managed. The enhancement cocktail was subtle but effective and completely off the official testing radar. Maybe ease up tomorrow, Tank suggested. Save some for the fight. Ease up. Steel laughed harshly. I'm about to destroy some fake kung fu master on pay-per-view. This is my moment to show the world that traditional martial arts is dead, that I killed it. Meanwhile, Lucy researched frantically in the apartment above the restaurant. Old newspaper, clippings, martial arts histories, anything about pressure points and defensive techniques. She found fragments, a Hong Kong officer known for never drawing his weapon, subduing armed criminals with empty hands, performing his own stunts during dangerous operations. Grandfather, she called down to the kitchen. I found something. These techniques you teach, they're from the Hong Kong Police Defensive Tactics Program, but modified, gentler. Jimmy appeared in the doorway. Violence should decrease with age, not increase. What I teach now is what I should have taught then. But you still remember the original techniques. His silence was answer enough. That night, a single figure moved through forms on the restaurant roof. Not the flowing Tai Chi of every morning, but something faster, sharper. Shadows danced on the walls as Jimmy Chen let muscle memory awaken after 15 years of sleep. In his penthouse, Morrison watched footage of the community center incident for the 100th time. Freeze frame at the moment Jimmy saw him. The recognition. The deliberate fall. You remember me, he whispered to the screen. Good. I want you to remember everything when Steel breaks you. Every moment you cost me in Hong Kong. Every dollar. Every ounce of respect. He poured himself scotch with hands that trembled with anticipation. 3 days. Then 40 years of patient hatred would finally bear fruit. The Phoenix Convention Center buzzed with testosterone and anticipation. Media credentials sold out. Within hours, what had started as a cruel publicity stunt had captured the public imagination. Youth versus age, modern versus traditional, brute force versus ancient wisdom. Jimmy arrived at the Athletic Commission's medical check at 9 a.m. sharp. Dr. Marcus Johnson, the commission's chief physician, ran him through the standard tests with growing disbelief. Mr. Chen, Your blood pressure is 110/70. Resting heart rate is 52. These are the numbers I see in athletes of third your age. Jimmy remained silent on the examination table. Your reflexes. Dr. Johnson tested them again. Sir, I've examined fighters for 20 years. Your neuromuscular responses are off the charts. Are you taking any medications? Supplements? Green tea? Sometimes ginger? The doctor laughed nervously. Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. Though I still strongly advise against this fight. Down the hall, Steele's exam told a different story. Blood pressure elevated. Pupils dilated, aggressive responses to simple questions. Dr. Johnson frowned, but found nothing explicitly banned. Morrison had been careful. The official weigh-in drew hundreds to the convention center lobby. ESPN, Fox Sports, and international media jockeyed for position. The narrative had evolved beyond Morrison's control. David versus Goliath for the social media age. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer boomed, weighing in at 245 pounds of pure destruction. Razor Steele. Steele bounded onto the platform, stripping off his shirt to reveal a physique carved from granite and ink. He flexed, roared, played to the crowd's bloodlust. The scale numbers appeared on the overhead screen to cheers and wolf whistles. And his opponent, weighing in at 165 pounds. Jimmy Chen. Jimmy walked up in simple khakis and a white button-down. No fanfare, no posturing. He removed his shoes, stepped on the scale, and waited quietly as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Face off, the announcer commanded. They stood toe-to-toe on the platform. Steele pressed forward aggressively, forehead nearly touching Jimmy's, trash-talking in a steady stream. One punch, old man. That's all it's going to take. They'll be scraping you off the canvas with a spatula. Jimmy stood perfectly still, eyes unfocused, breathing steady. His complete lack of reaction seemed to infuriate Steele more than any comeback would have. In the press section, Susan Chong from Hong Kong Daily pushed forward. Something about the older man's stance, the way he held his shoulders, triggered decades-old memories. She'd covered police ceremonies in the 80s, demonstrations by the tactical unit. Mr. Chen, she called out in Cantonese. Your stance, where did you train? Jimmy's eyes flickered to her for just an instant before returning to neutral. But Susan caught it. The recognition. The warning. Morrison watched from the VIP section, satisfaction radiating from every pore. He'd waited 40 years for this moment. The humiliation would be public, brutal, and permanent. After the weigh-in, Steele held court with reporters. Look, I almost feel bad for the old guy. Almost. But these fake masters need to be exposed. They give people false confidence, make them think they can defend themselves with pretty movements and philosophy. Real fighting is about power, aggression, domination. Tomorrow night, I educate the world. One reporter asked about Jimmy's remarkable medical results. Doctored records, Steele scoffed. Probably fake like everything else about him. You'll see tomorrow when he's unconscious in under 30 seconds. That evening, Jimmy served dinner. At the Golden Dragon as if it were any other night. Lucy watched him pour tea with hands steady as stone. Are you afraid? She asked quietly. He considered the question. Fear is natural. But I learned long ago that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's right action despite fear. And tomorrow? What's the right action? Jimmy smiled sadly. To protect. Always to protect. Even those who would harm us. The Phoenix Arena transformed into a coliseum for the modern age. 15,000 seats sold out in hours, with pay-per-view pre-orders exceeding all projections. What started as a mismatch had become the combat sports event of the year. Lucy helped her grandfather prepare in a stark locker room beneath the arena. His calmness was eerie, as if he were preparing for evening meditation rather than potential death. Your hands, she said softly, wrapping them with gauze. They're so steady. Excitement is the enemy of precision. Harold and Dorothy appeared at the door, security badges around their necks. We're not supposed to be here, Dorothy admitted. But Pete knows a guy who knows a guy. You came, Jimmy said simply. Where else would we be? Harold's voice was gruff with emotion. You stand for us. We stand for you. In the opposite locker room, Steele shadowboxed with violent intensity. Morrison whispered last-minute instructions while Tank Williams watched with growing unease. Remember, make it brutal, but make it last. The crowd wants a show. I'll give them a massacre. Steele's eyes were wild, unfocused. The cocktail Morrison had given him was reaching its peak. Tank pulled Morrison aside. He's too amped up. What did you give him? Just the usual supplements. Morrison's smile was sharp. Worried about your percentage? Don't be. After tonight, we'll own this town. The arena lights dimmed. Music pounded through speakers as Steele made his entrance. Pyrotechnics, smoke machines, death metal screaming. He stalked to the ring like a predator, feeding off the crowd's energy. Then silence fell. Jimmy walked alone down the aisle. No music, no entourage, just an old man in simple black trunks and worn robe. But something in his movement made people lean forward. He didn't walk to the ring, he flowed. Susan Chong gripped her camera tighter. The way he moved through space. The perfect balance, the economy of motion. Her hands shook as recognition dawned. In the ring, the referee gave final instructions. Steele bounced on his toes, throwing shadow combinations. Jimmy stood still, breathing deep and even. I want a clean fight, the referee said. Protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves if you. Steele was already backing away, refusing. The gesture of respect. The bell rang. Steele exploded forward like a missile, loading up a massive overhand right designed to separate head from shoulders. The crowd held its breath as 245 pounds of muscle and rage descended toward the stationary old man. Jimmy shifted his weight, a movement so small it was almost invisible. His hand rose, not to block, but to guide, adding the gentlest spiral to Steele's momentum. Physics took over. Steele's own force, redirected and amplified, sent him flying past Jimmy in an uncontrolled spiral. He crashed to the canvas hard, his equilibrium completely destroyed. He tried to rise, but the world spun. Sickeningly, his legs buckled. He fell again. The referee started counting. Jimmy moved immediately to help, steadying Steele as he sat up. In the struggle, Steele grabbed Jimmy's shirt. The fabric tore, revealing the distinctive scar on Jimmy's right shoulder. A long, curved mark that anyone who'd watched Police Story would recognize. Susan Chong shot to her feet. That's Jackie Chan's scar. From the stunt where he… Oh my God. The revelation rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Smartphones captured the moment as recognition dawned on 15,000 faces simultaneously. The referee reached 10. The fight was over in 47 seconds. But Jimmy wasn't celebrating. He knelt beside Steele, whispering something that made the younger man's eyes widen in shock. Then chaos erupted as the crowd realized they'd just witnessed a legend revealing himself. Morrison's face contorted with rage, then satisfaction. The humiliation was complete, but so was the exposure. Jackie Chan's quiet life was over, and the real fight was just beginning. The Phoenix Arena parking lot became a war zone of media. Vans and screaming fans. Jackie's van inched through the mob. Lucy white-knuckling the steering wheel as bodies pressed against windows. Just drive, Jackie said calmly, though his jaw was tight. Don't stop. They escaped to the Golden Dragon, to find it already under siege. News vans lined the street like an occupying army. Reporters thrust microphones at anyone entering or leaving. Is it true? Is Jimmy Chen really Jackie Chan? How long has he been hiding here? Why did he lie to everyone? Inside, Jackie's regular customers huddled in booths, torn between loyalty and bewilderment. Pete Rodriguez manned the door like a sentry, turning away anyone without a familiar face. Jackie. Hell, I don't know what to call you, Pete said as they slipped inside. Jimmy. Always Jimmy to you. The television above the bar played split screens, Jackie's old Police Story stunts beside tonight's fight footage. The comparison was undeniable. Social media exploded with theories, accusations, revelations. But worse was coming. Morrison appeared on Sports Talk Live via satellite, his face a mask of righteous indignation. What we witnessed tonight wasn't a fight, it was an assault. Jackie Chan used illegal pressure point techniques banned in 47 states. He's been hiding here, teaching these dangerous methods to unsuspecting seniors. The host leaned forward. That's a serious accusation. I have experts analyzing the footage as we speak. That wasn't a normal redirect. Chan struck specific nerve clusters to destroy my fighter's equilibrium. These are the same techniques that got him expelled from Hong Kong law enforcement. Lucy slammed her laptop shut. He's lying. You barely touched steel. Truth doesn't matter now, Jackie said quietly. Only perception. His phone buzzed constantly. Students asking if they'd been learning from a fraud, if the techniques were dangerous, if he'd been lying all along. Harold's grandson had posted, "My grandfather's teacher is a fake and a liar." Typical Hollywood. By morning, the restaurant was vandalized. Fraud spray-painted across windows. Jackie Chan fight on the door. Someone had thrown eggs at the photos on the wall, yolk dripping down memories. Lucy found her grandfather cleaning silently, methodically, as if he could wash away more than just vandalism. "Your medical school interview is Thursday," he said without looking up. "I'm not leaving you. This is my burden, not yours. Our burden." She took a rag and began cleaning beside him. Family doesn't abandon family. Harold arrived with Dorothy and Maria, their faces grim. "The community center called an emergency meeting," Harold said. "Insurance company wants to cancel our coverage. They say you're a liability now." "I understand." "No, you don't." Dorothy's voice shook. "Those young thugs are back. They know you won't touch them now. They robbed 3 seniors yesterday. Maria's nephew was beaten. The police take 2 hours to respond, if at all." Maria wrung her hands. "Without you, without the center, we're helpless." Jackie's hands stilled on the window. Outside, a news crew filmed the vandalism while neighbors hurried past, afraid of association. The price of revelation was just beginning to be paid. And Morrison was only getting started. The Arizona Athletic Commission convened an emergency session at 9 a.m. Monday. The wood-paneled hearing room filled with lawyers, media, and Morrison's hired experts. Jackie sat at the defendant's table with Rebecca Chen, his pro bono attorney, while Lucy watched from the gallery. Commissioner Ray Patterson looked deeply uncomfortable. "Mr. Chen or Mr. Chan, this commission has serious concerns about the techniques used in Friday's bout." Dr. Wilhelm Krauss took the stand first, Morrison's biomechanics expert with credentials as inflated as his ego. "What we witnessed defies conventional physics," Krauss testified, pointer in hand as he analyzed slow-motion footage. "The angle of redirection, the minimal contact, the devastating result. This suggests manipulation of pressure points banned in civilized competition." Rebecca cross-examined sharply. "Dr. Krauss, have you ever studied traditional martial arts?" "I have PhDs in biomechanics and sports medicine." "That wasn't my question. Have you personally studied Wing Chun, Aikido, or any art that emphasizes redirection?" "Academic study, yes." "So you've never actually performed these techniques?" Krauss bristled. "I don't need to perform them to understand the physics involved. Like saying you understand swimming without ever entering water." Morrison's second expert, a former UFC referee, testified that Jackie's technique violated the spirit of combat sports. Rebecca countered with 3 legitimate martial arts masters who explained the redirect was textbook defensive movement. But the commission seemed unconvinced. During lunch recess, Morrison cornered Jackie in the hallway. "You cost me $10 million in Hong Kong," he hissed. "Your testimony destroyed my entire operation. You destroyed yourself. I just told the truth." "Truth?" Morrison laughed. "Here's truth. I own judges, commissioners, reporters. By the time I'm done, you'll be in prison for assault." That evening, Rico Vance, Morrison's enforcer, visited the Golden Dragon with 2 associates. They didn't enter, just stood outside, photographing everyone who went in or out. The message was clear. At Phoenix General, Lucy found her locker defaced with printouts of her grandfather's fight. "Granddaughter of a fraud," scrawled across her schedule. Dr. Watson pulled her aside. "I'm concerned about your safety. And frankly, about your future. The medical school admissions committee has questions about my grandfather. How is that relevant? They wonder about your judgment, your associations." Dr. Watson's face was sympathetic but firm. "Perhaps you should consider distancing yourself from my family, from the controversy." That night, insurance adjuster Wade Phillips delivered the final blow. He arrived at the community center with security guards and official documents. "Effective immediately, coverage is terminated," he announced to Nancy Huang. "Your instructor engaged in violent activity that resulted in injury. The liability is unacceptable." But the fight was sanctioned. He was defending the center's honor. Honor doesn't indemnify lawsuits. You have 72 hours to cease operations. Nancy called Jackie immediately. Without insurance, we can't open our doors. The seniors, the veterans, the meal program, it's all over. Jackie stood in his vandalized restaurant, phone pressed to his ear, listening to his community crumble. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Don't apologize. Just fix this. Somehow. But as Rico Vance's men maintained their vigil outside, Jackie knew Morrison was just getting started. The real destruction was yet to come. Tuesday morning brought revelations that shifted everything. Morrison hosted a press conference at the Phoenician Resort, his smile sharp as surgical steel. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been investigating Mr. Chan's past, and what I've discovered is deeply troubling. He produced documents on oversized screens, Hong Kong police training manuals from the 1980s, pages highlighted in yellow. These techniques, nerve strikes, pressure point manipulation, neurological disruption, were taught to elite units for one purpose: to incapacitate without leaving marks. Mr. Chan was an expert in methods designed to cause invisible damage. A reporter raised her hand. Are you saying he's been teaching these to seniors? I'm saying a man trained in techniques banned by international law has been hiding among us, training vulnerable populations. Who knows what damage has been done? Meanwhile, Rico Vance escalated his campaign. Lucy arrived at the hospital to find her car tires slashed. A note under the wiper. Your grandfather should have stayed hidden. Dr. Watson reviewed security footage with her. We can't prove who did it. But Lucy, this is escalating. Maybe take some time off. That's what they want. Me to run. Sometimes strategic retreat is wisdom. At the restaurant, Jackie found Pete Rodriguez boarding up windows. Can't have them broken again, Pete explained. I got some plywood from. A brick crashed through the last unboarded window, missing Pete by inches. Outside, 3 young men laughed and ran. No police responded to the call. That afternoon, Steele watched fight footage in his empty mansion. Empty because Amber had left, taking her things while he obsessed over those 47 seconds. The redirect played in slow motion, over and over. He paused at the moment Jackie whispered to him, "You're better than this." For words that haunted him more than the loss. Tank Williams found him there at midnight, surrounded by beer bottles and replay screens. This isn't healthy, Razor. I can't figure it out. Steele's voice was hoarse. He barely touched me. How did I go down so hard? Tank sat beside him, choosing words carefully. You ever consider that Morrison might have given you something? Your balance was off even before the fight. Duke's supplements are all legal. Legal and safe aren't the same thing. Tank pulled out blood test results he'd ordered privately. Your testosterone levels were triple normal. Modafinil levels off the charts. He's been juicing you for 2 years. Steele stared at the papers, then at the screen where Jackie helped him up after the knockdown. Why would he help me? I humiliated him, threatened his students. Maybe that's the difference between real strength and what Morrison taught you. At 3 a.m., Susan Chong from Hong Kong Daily uploaded her investigation. Side-by-side photos from the 1980s and now. Academy records. Testimonials from criminals Jackie had arrested without ever throwing a punch. The officer who never needed a gun, one reformed triad member testified. He could stop you with a touch, but he always helped. You up after? Morrison watched from his penthouse, phone buzzing with calls from old associates. The men he'd run fight rings with in Hong Kong, all wanting their piece of revenge. He's exposed now, Morrison told them. Vulnerable. Time to collect on old debts. The war was no longer just about one fight. It was about 40 years of careful planning finally bearing poison fruit. Thursday arrived with Lucy's medical school interview scheduled for 2 p.m. She dressed carefully in her best suit, trying to cover the exhaustion that came from sleeping in the restaurant, guarding her grandfather. You should go, Jackie said. Over breakfast. This is your future. My future includes you. Not if Morrison has his way. The Athletic Commission's preliminary ruling came at noon. Pending investigation, Jackie was prohibited from any combat sports activities. Criminal charges would be considered based on expert testimony. Rebecca Chen called immediately. There, building a pattern, claiming you've been using these techniques for years. Morrison found 3 people willing to testify you assaulted them. Let me guess. All with criminal records. All recently wealthy. How did you know? Morrison's patterns don't change. At Mercy General, Steele lay in intensive care, machines monitoring his vitals. The official story was a training accident, but the bruising suggested otherwise. 3 men had cornered him in a parking garage, professionally brutal. His phone, cracked but functional, lay on the bedside table. On it, a video confession recorded minutes before the attack. "My name is Razor Steele. I need to tell the truth about Duke Morrison. He's been drugging me for 2 years. The supplements, the rage, it's all manufactured. Jackie Chan fought clean. I didn't. Morrison set this whole thing up for some revenge plot from Hong Kong. I have proof. Check my cloud storage." The password is, the video cut off as shadows appeared in the frame. Lucy arrived for her interview to find the committee cold, formal. Dr. Richard Hawthorne led the questioning. "Miss Chen, your grandfather has been in the news recently." "Yes." "You don't find his deception concerning? Hiding his identity, teaching potentially dangerous techniques?" "I find his dedication to helping others admirable, even if those techniques could cause harm. Show me one person he's harmed. One student injured. One complaint before Morrison appeared." Dr. Hawthorne frowned. "Your loyalty is admirable, but medicine requires judgment, objectivity. Can you separate your personal feelings from professional obligations? My grandfather taught me that helping others isn't just professional. It's personal. It's why I want to be a doctor." "I see. We'll be in touch." Lucy left knowing she'd failed. Her grandfather's controversy had poisoned her future too. That evening, Nancy Huang made the announcement at the community center. Seniors gathered in the main room, confusion and fear on weathered faces. "I'm sorry. Without insurance, we must close immediately. The meal program ends today. All classes are canceled. We have no choice." Dorothy began crying. Harold's fists clenched uselessly. Maria clutched her rosary. "What about our medications?" Someone called out. "The center helps us organize them." "What about the veterans group?" Pete asked. "Some of these guys only leave the house for meetings." "I'm sorry," Nancy repeated, her own tears falling. "I'm so sorry." Outside, Psycho Ramirez and his crew watched the seniors file out. Easy targets now. No protection. No sanctuary. Jackie stood in his boarded-up restaurant, watching the news report. Everything he'd built over 15 years crumbled in a week. His students scattered. His family threatened. His community destroyed. Morrison had won without throwing a punch. Friday morning broke gray and oppressive, matching the mood at the Golden Dragon. Jackie found his kitchen ransacked, freezer unplugged, a week's worth of food spoiled in the Phoenix heat. The vandals had entered through the roof, the same place where he performed his morning Tai Chi. Lucy arrived from her overnight shift to find him salvaging what he could. $8,000, he said quietly. "That's what this cost us. Money we don't have. We'll figure it out." "No." His voice carried an edge she'd never heard. "This ends now. You go back to your apartment. Return to your life. Let me handle Morrison alone." "Grandfather, I am not your grandfather." The words came out sharp, intended to wound. "I'm just an old man who cooked for you. Nothing more." Lucy stepped back as if slapped. In 22 years, he'd never raised his voice to her. She saw through the act. He was trying to protect her by pushing her away, but it hurt regardless. At Phoenix General, Steele's eyes fluttered open. Machines beeped steadily as consciousness returned. His ribs were broken, face swollen, but he was alive. Tank Williams sat beside him, relief flooding his features. "Easy, champ. You're safe now." "The video." Steele's voice was a rasp. "Did they get it?" "What video?" "My phone. I recorded everything. Morrison's drugs, the setup, He tried to sit up, gasped in pain. "Where's my phone?" Tank's face fell. Morrison's lawyer took it. Said it was company property. Down the hall, Dr. Watson examined Steele's charts with Lucy. 3 broken ribs, concussion, internal bruising. Whoever did this was professional. They knew exactly how to cause maximum pain without killing. Will he testify about Morrison? With what proof? Morrison's team swept his apartment, took his computers. Everything's gone. That afternoon, the shuttered community center became a gathering point for desperate seniors. Without the meal program, some hadn't eaten in 2 days. Dorothy's blood sugar spiked dangerously. Harold's grandson still wouldn't speak to him. Maria hadn't left her apartment since the closure. Pete Rodriguez tried to organize them at the park, but Psycho's crew arrived within minutes. This is our territory now, old man. Psycho lounged on the bench where Jackie used to teach. Unless you got protection money. We were here first. Psycho stood, all 6 feet of tattooed menace. Were. Past tense. Now bounce before someone breaks a hip. Pete wanted to fight. But what could a 68-year-old veteran do against 5 young thugs? They retreated, dignity in tatters. At Morrison's penthouse, a celebration was underway. Investors toasted the community center's closure. The land was worth millions for development. Morrison raised his glass to the city lights. 40 years of patience, gentlemen. Now we own the block. Chan's reputation is destroyed, and his protege is learning what happens to those who cross us. Rico Vance entered, knuckles freshly wrapped. The girl's been visiting Steele. Want me to discourage that? Not yet. Let Chan suffer a bit more. Watch his world burn completely. Morrison smiled. Then we take the girl. That evening, Jackie stood in his empty restaurant. No customers dared enter. Suppliers had cut him off, Morrison's influence spreading like poison. The photos on the wall stared down at him, accusing. All those years of service, undone in days. He looked at his hands, the same ones that had protected so many, now useless against Morrison's systematic destruction. The anger inside him was a living thing, demanding release. For the first time in 15 years, he wanted to hurt someone. The kitchen knife in his hand trembled. One visit to Morrison's penthouse. One moment of letting the old skills surface fully. It would be so easy. He set the knife down carefully. That path led nowhere good. But what path remained? Saturday. Dawn found Jackie on the vandalized rooftop, attempting his morning forms. But the movements wouldn't flow. Anger disrupted every transition, turning meditation into mockery. For the first time since Hong Kong, his discipline cracked. A coffee mug sailed past his head. You push me away to protect me? Lucy stood in the doorway, eyes blazing. How dare you? Lucy, no. My turn to talk. She advanced on him. 15 years of quiet love transformed into fury. My parents died. You took me in. You raised me. You are my grandfather in every way that matters. And you don't get to throw that away because some gangster threatens us. He's already destroyed. Your future. The medical school rejected me. I know. Got the email this morning. Her voice cracked, but didn't break. So what? I'll apply elsewhere. But I won't abandon you. They stood facing each other, the old man who'd seen too much and the young woman who refused to see defeat. I failed you, Jackie said quietly. The only way you fail me is by giving up. At Morrison's office, Rico Vance played security footage on multiple screens. The hospital hallways, parking garage, ICU, every angle of his attack on Steele. Beautiful work, Morrison approved. But incomplete. He's talking. Want me to finish it? No. He's more useful alive, but terrified. Morrison pulled up financial records. Chan's restaurant is hemorrhaging money. Another week and he'll be bankrupt. The building's mortgage is with our bank. We'll foreclose, demolish, and build luxury condos where his precious community used to gather. What about the cop? Rebecca Chen's been filing motions. Let her file. Judge Martinez owes me for his son's rehab. Nothing will stick. But Rico looked troubled. Boss, the boys are getting nervous. That thing Chan did to Steele, they don't want to face that. Morrison's eyes went cold. They're more afraid of him than me. Perhaps I need to remind them. Why that's a mistake. Meanwhile, Steele insisted on checking himself out against medical advice. Tank pushed his wheelchair through the hospital corridors, arguing the entire way. You can barely walk. Where you gonna go? To Chan's restaurant. Are you insane? Morrison will. Morrison's had 2 years to kill me slowly with drugs. I'm done being his puppet. Steele grimaced as they reached the exit. Chan whispered something during the fight. You're better than this. First person in years who saw something in me besides a meal ticket. He's not gonna want to see you. You humiliated him. Then we're even. They arrived at the Golden Dragon to find it boarded and tagged with graffiti. Steele struggled out of the wheelchair, knocked on the reinforced door. Mr. Chan? It's Steele. I need to talk to you. Long silence. Then locks turning. Jackie opened the door, took in Steele's battered state. You should be in the hospital. I should be a lot of things. Steele leaned heavily on the doorframe. Can I come in? Jackie stepped aside. In the dim restaurant, Steele saw the destruction. Smashed fixtures, spoiled food, defaced photos. His throat tightened. I did this. All of it. Morrison did this. You were just his weapon. I chose to be his weapon. Steele collapsed. Into a booth. But I'm done with that. I want to make it right. You can't. The community center is closed. My students are scattered. People I swore to protect are being victimized. What if I could get evidence? Morrison keeps records of everything. The drugs, the fixed fights, the bribes. It's all in his office safe. Jackie studied the younger man's swollen face. Why? Would you risk that? Because you were right. I am better than this. Or I want to be. Sunday morning brought an unexpected alliance. Steele sat in the Golden Dragon's kitchen, teaching Lucy how to access Morrison's building while Jackie listened. With growing unease. Security changes shifts at 3 p.m., Steele explained, sketching layouts on napkins. That's your window. Morrison always golfs Sunday afternoons. He'll be at Scottsdale National until 6. I'm not letting Lucy break into. I'll do it, Steele. Interrupted. My face opens doors there. But I need backup. Someone small, quick, smart. He looked at Lucy. Someone he won't expect. Tank Williams paced nervously. This is insane. Morrison will kill you both. He's killing us slowly anyway, Lucy said. At least this way we fight back. Jackie's hands clenched. Every instinct screamed to forbid this, to handle Morrison himself. But Lucy was right. They were dying by degrees. The safe combination? He asked quietly. His fighter records were always in the office safe. October 15th, 85, the date he lost everything in Hong Kong. Steele's smile was bitter. He likes reminders of his grudges. That afternoon, Rebecca Chen arrived with disturbing news. Morrison's filed civil suits. Assault, emotional distress, lost wages. He's seeking $10 million in damages. I don't have 10,000. Doesn't matter. He'll take the restaurant, garnish any future wages, ensure you never work again. She paused. Unless you leave Phoenix. Tonight. I can arrange. No. Jackie's voice was stone. Running solves nothing. Neither does martyrdom. At 2:45 p.m., Steele's Porsche pulled into Morrison's building garage. He wore sunglasses to hide the bruising, moved carefully to disguise his injuries. Lucy followed in nurse scrubs, carrying medical supplies. Mr. Steele? The security guard jumped up. We heard you were in the hospital. Just to check up. Doc makes house calls now. He gestured at Lucy. Morrison wanted some files from his office. You know how he is about his privacy. The guard hesitated. Protocol said to call for authorization, but Steele had been here hundreds of times. And Morrison's temper was legendary. Make it quick. They rode the elevator in tense silence. Steele's breathing was labored, the broken ribs screaming. With each step, Lucy steadied him as they entered Morrison's office. Behind the Monet reproduction, Steele directed. The frame swings out. Lucy found the safe, entered the combination with trembling fingers. Inside, stacks of files, USB drives, photographs. Evidence of 30 years of corruption. Take everything. Steele said. We won't get another chance. They loaded Lucy's medical bag, working fast. Then footsteps in the hallway. Someone's coming. Lucy's heart hammered. Steele grabbed a letter opener from Morrison's desk, positioned himself behind the door. But when it opened, it wasn't security, it was Rico Vance. His eyes took in the scene instantly. Well, the turncoat and the granddaughter. Steele lunged with the letter opener. Even injured, his fighter's instincts were sharp. But Rico was ready, sidestepping and driving an elbow into Steele's ribs. Steele collapsed, gasping. Should have stayed down, champ. Rico advanced on Lucy. Your grandfather cost my boss millions. Time to return the favor. Lucy backed against the window, medical bag clutched tight. 20 floors down, Phoenix sprawled in afternoon sun. Rico smiled, reaching for her throat. The office door exploded inward. Jackie flowed into the room. Like liquid shadow. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Rico turned, throwing a haymaker that would have demolished most men. Jackie redirected it into the desk, using Rico's momentum to flip him in a spiral that ended with the enforcer unconscious against the wall. I told you to wait in the car, Jackie said mildly. You told us you'd stay at the restaurant, Lucy countered. Steele struggled upright. The files, we got them all. Then we leave. Now. But the elevator dinged, voices approaching. Morrison had returned early. The voices grew closer, Morrison and two others, discussing the community center demolition. Jackie assessed options rapidly. 3 exits, all compromised. Window 20 floors up. 2 injured allies. No good choices. The conference room, Steele whispered, connects to the service stairs. They moved swiftly, Jackie supporting Steele while Lucy clutched the evidence. Behind them, Morrison entered his office. Rico? What the his roar of rage shook the walls. Find them. The conference room door was locked. Jackie's hand moved in a precise pattern and the electronic lock clicked open, old skills surfacing. When needed. How did you? Lucy began. Later. Move. They reached the service stairs as Morrison's security flooded the hallway. 20 floors down, Steele struggling with each step, broken ribs grinding. By the 10th floor, he was coughing blood. Leave me, he gasped. Get the evidence out. No one gets left behind, Jackie said firmly. Lucy, take his other side. They half-carried Steele down 5 more floors before security appeared above them. No more running. Take the evidence, Jackie told Lucy. 5th floor has a sky bridge to the parking garage. Rebecca is waiting with her car. I'm not leaving you. That's an order. His voice carried command from decades past. Protect what we've gained. Go. Lucy ran, tears streaming. Jackie turned to face the approaching security, Steele propped against the wall beside him. Can you stand? If it means fighting beside Jackie Chan, I'll stand. For security guards descended, not rent-a-cops, but Morrison's special team. Ex-military, armed with expandable batons. Jackie centered himself. No room for elaborate redirects here, just close-quarters survival. The first man lunged with his baton. Jackie caught the weapon, used it to pull the attacker into the railing, consciousness gone. The second and third attacked simultaneously. Jackie flowed between them, each movement setting up the next, turning their aggression into their defeat. The fourth man pulled a taser. Steele, drawing on reserves he didn't know existed, tackled him from behind. They rolled downstairs in a tangle of limbs. Steele. Jackie finished the third attacker and bounded down to find Steele unconscious but breathing, the guard out cold beneath him. Morrison appeared at the landing above, face purple with rage. You think you've won? I own judges, commissioners, cops. That evidence means nothing. We'll see. Jackie lifted Steele in a fireman's carry, adrenaline overriding age. In the parking garage, Rebecca's Honda idled by the exit. Lucy threw open the back door as Jackie deposited Steele inside. Phoenix General, Jackie ordered. He needs immediate treatment. What about you? Rebecca asked. I have one more stop. As they pulled away, he saw Morrison's men flooding the garage. Let them come. The evidence was safe. Lucy was safe. And even Steele, unlikely ally, would survive. But in the distance, smoke rose from the direction of the community center. Morrison's final message was clear. If he couldn't own it, he'd burn it all down. Jackie's phone buzzed. Nancy Huang, sobbing. The center, someone torched it. The fire department says arson. All our records, the photos of our programs, 40 years of memories, gone. He closed his eyes. Even in revealing Morrison's corruption, the cost kept climbing. Tomorrow, the commission would meet for final ruling. Tomorrow, the evidence would be presented. Tonight, his community mourned another loss, and Jackie felt every one of his 70 years settling on his shoulders like stones. Monday dawned with the Golden Dragon foreclosed. Jackie stood outside as bank officials changed the locks, his few possessions in cardboard boxes on the sidewalk. 15 years of building a life, reduced to what he could carry. Pete Rodriguez pulled up in his battered truck. You're staying with me. No arguments. Jackie loaded his boxes silently. Down the street, the community center's burned skeletons still smoldered. Fire investigators worked the scene, but everyone knew what they'd find: professional arson, no witnesses. Pete's apartment was small but clean, photos of his late wife on every surface. He cleared space in the spare room, pretending not to. Notice when Jackie's hands shook folding his few clothes. We'll get through this, Pete said. We? You think you're alone? Half the seniors in Phoenix would take a bullet for you. We just need to regroup. But regrouping seemed impossible. Lucy's phone rang constantly. Reporters, threats, hang-ups. She'd moved into Dr. Watson's spare room after finding her apartment. Door kicked in, belongings destroyed. At Phoenix General, Steele remained under guard. Morrison's lawyers claimed he was mentally unstable, demanding psychiatric evaluation. Tank Williams stood vigil, refusing to leave despite hospital protests. "They're trying to discredit him before he can testify," Tank told Lucy during her visit. Classic Morrison: destroy the witness, destroy the testimony. The evidence Lucy had risked everything to steal sat in Rebecca Chen's safe. USB drives full of financial records, documents proving years of fight fixing, drug distribution, bribery. But without a credible witness to authenticate them, they were just papers. That afternoon, Nancy Huang gathered the displaced seniors in Steiner Park. Without the center, they met under trees, sharing whatever food they'd brought. Dorothy's walker caught on the uneven ground. Harold helped her to a bench, both moving, like they'd aged 10 years in a week. "The insurance company says arson voids our coverage," Nancy announced. "Even if we had a building, we couldn't operate." "What about the meal program?" Maria asked. "Some folks got nothing else." "Gone. All of it's gone." Psycho's gang watched from across the park, no longer bothering to hide. Why should they? Their protection was gone, their guardian angel grounded. Jackie observed from Pete's truck, legally prohibited from approaching his own students. Every instinct screamed to intervene, but Rebecca had been clear: any violation of the commission's order meant immediate arrest. "This is killing you," Pete said. "There are worse things than death, like watching your family suffer while you do nothing." Jackie didn't answer. Couldn't. That evening, Morrison appeared on local news, tailored suit impeccable, playing the wronged party perfectly. Mr. Chen is a vigilante who's been teaching illegal combat techniques to vulnerable populations. The fire at the community center, while tragic, occurred because of the dangerous elements his actions attracted to the neighborhood. The reporter pressed, "Are you saying he's responsible for the arson?" "I'm saying when you harbor someone practicing violence, violence follows. The commission will review all evidence tomorrow and render appropriate judgment." In Pete's living room, Jackie turned off the television. Somewhere in Phoenix, his students went hungry. Somewhere, Lucy cried herself to sleep. Somewhere, Steele fought to keep his sanity while Morrison's machinery ground forward. Rock bottom felt like this: watching everything you'd built burn while standing helpless in the ashes. Tomorrow's hearing would either vindicate him or finish Morrison's destruction. Tonight, he had only Pete's couch and the weight of failure. Tuesday morning brought an unexpected gift. Lucy arrived at Pete's apartment carrying Steele's phone, screen cracked but functional. Dr. Watson found it in his personal effects. The hospital missed it when Morrison's lawyers searched his room. Jackie examined the device. Password protected, battery nearly dead. "Can you unlock it?" "Already did. Steele gave me the code, October 15th, 85. Same as Morrison's safe." Lucy's smile was grim. He said Morrison would appreciate the irony. The video file was dated mere hours before Steele's beating. His face filled the screen, exhausted but determined. "My name is Razor Steele. Duke Morrison has been drugging me for 2 years without my knowledge. Testosterone, modafinil, experimental compounds, all hidden in supplements he insisted I take. I have documentation proving he's done this to dozens of fighters. He fixes matches, destroys careers, and launders money through the sport." "Jackie, Chen fought clean. I didn't. Morrison set this whole thing up as revenge for something that happened in Hong Kong 40 years ago. The proof is in my apartment, hidden in." Shadows appeared in the frame. Steele's eyes widened. "They're here. Check my cloud storage. Password is justice for Jimmy Chen. Tell Jackie I'm sorry for everything. Tell him." The video cut to black. "We need to get this to Rebecca immediately," Jackie said. But Lucy was already accessing Steele's cloud storage. Files began downloading: medical records, financial statements, recorded conversations. Morrison's voice, clear and damning. "I don't care if the drugs kill him eventually. I need him angry for the Chen fight." At Phoenix General, Tank Williams nearly wept when they showed him the evidence. "I knew Duke was dirty, but this. He destroyed that boy systematically. Turned him into a weapon." "Will you testify?" Rebecca asked. "After seeing this, I'll testify to God himself if it helps." But Morrison had anticipated betrayal. Within hours, Tank's gym was raided by health inspectors. Violations were found, all planted. His business license was revoked, assets frozen pending investigation. "Don't matter," Tank said defiantly. "I'll testify from a cardboard box if I have to." That afternoon, word spread through the senior community: Jimmy's granddaughter had. Found proof. Hope flickered in tired eyes. Maria organized a prayer circle. Harold called his grandson, trying to explain. Dorothy baked cookies with borrowed ingredients, insisting Jackie would need them after tomorrow's victory. But Morrison's reach extended everywhere. The cloud storage site suffered a catastrophic failure. Steele's original files vanished. Only Lucy's downloaded copies remained, and a judge, one of Morrison's, ruled them inadmissible without authentication from Steele himself. He needs to testify personally, Rebecca explained. But Morrison's lawyers have him under psychiatric hold. They claim he's delusional, suffering from traumatic brain injury. No court will accept testimony from someone in psychiatric lockdown. Jackie felt the trap closing. Even with evidence, Morrison's system protected itself. That evening, an unexpected visitor appeared at Pete's door. Susan Chong from Hong Kong Daily carried a thick folder. "I've been investigating Morrison for weeks. Found something you need to see." She spread yellow documents across Pete's kitchen table. Morrison wasn't just running fight clubs in Hong Kong. He was trafficking fighters, bringing in desperate kids, getting them hooked on drugs, using them until they broke. "We knew he was corrupt. You don't understand." Susan's eyes were fierce. "One of those kids died in the ring. 16 years old. Morrison covered it up, but the boy's father never stopped seeking justice. He's been gathering evidence for decades. He lives in Sedona now. His name is William Chen. No relation to you, but he'll testify. Tomorrow." A crack in Morrison's armor. Small, but perhaps enough. Wednesday's commission hearing drew crowds. That spilled onto the street. Inside the packed chambers, Morrison sat with his legal team, supremely confident. Jackie entered with Rebecca, Lucy, and their surprise witness, William Chen, a slight man whose eyes held 4 decades of patient grief. Commissioner Patterson called for order. "This hearing will determine whether criminal charges should be filed against Mr. Jackie Chan for assault with illegal martial arts techniques." Morrison's lawyer, Clayton Sharp, stood first. "The evidence is clear. Mr. Chan used banned pressure point attacks, endangering not just my client's fighter but setting a dangerous precedent. If we allow vigilante justice—" "Objection," Rebecca interrupted. "Mr. Chan engaged in a sanctioned bout with all legal waivers signed. Waivers don't cover assault with deadly weapons. And make no mistake, Mr. Chan's hands are weapons." The morning proceeded with competing experts, slow-motion footage, biomechanical analysis. Morrison smirked through it all, confident in his purchased verdict. Then Rebecca called William Chen. "State your name for the record." "William Chen. I live in Sedona now. But 40 years ago, I lived in Hong Kong. My son was named Tommy. He was 16 when Duke Morrison recruited him." Morrison's smirk faltered. "Tell us about Tommy." "He was a good boy. Smart. But we were poor, and Morrison promised training, money, a future. Instead, he got my son addicted to drugs. Made him fight when he was too damaged to stand. Tommy died in Morrison's ring, brain hemorrhage from repeated trauma while high on Morrison's chemicals." "That's ancient history," Sharp objected. "Irrelevant to today's." "I'm not finished." William's voice carried 4 decades of suppressed rage. "Morrison paid officials to rule it an accident. Threatened my family when I tried to get justice. But I never stopped collecting evidence. Bank records, photos, names of other boys he destroyed." He produced a weathered folder. 37 fighters Morrison drugged without their knowledge. 12 dead by suicide or overdose. All covered up. All paid to disappear. The commission chamber erupted. Morrison shot to his feet. "Those are lies. Fabrications." "Then explain this." Rebecca displayed Steele's video on the courtroom screen. His confession played to stunned silence. Morrison drugging fighters. The revenge plot. The systematic destruction of Jackie's life over a 40-year grudge. "This is inadmissible." Sharp roared. "The witness is mentally incompetent." "Actually, he's not." Dr. Watson entered, leading Steele himself. Thin, shaking, but undeniably lucid. "I had Mr. Steele transferred to my care this morning. Full psychiatric evaluation shows no delusions, no incompetence. Just a young man recovering from systematic poisoning." Steele took the stand slowly, each step measured. He looked directly at Morrison. "You made me a monster. Fed me drugs. Told me rage was strength. Used me to hurt an innocent man because of your old grudge. But I'm done being your weapon." He authenticated every document, confirmed every recording. The commission's bot members squirmed as evidence mounted. Even they couldn't ignore this avalanche. Mr. Chan's technique was a simple redirect, Steele continued. No pressure points. No secret attacks. Just skill I was too drugged to counter. He could have hurt me badly. Instead, he helped me up. Showed me mercy I didn't deserve. Commissioner Patterson had heard enough. But before he could rule, the doors burst open. Rico Vance entered wild-eyed, gun drawn. Nobody moves. Morrison's not going down alone. Screams erupted as people dove for cover. Rico aimed at Jackie, finger tightening on the trigger. 40 years of loyalty, boss. I'll take him with us. Time slowed. Jackie saw the angle, the trajectory. Not toward him, toward Lucy, who stood frozen beside him. Morrison's final cruelty. Take what Jackie loved most. No time for gentle redirects now. Jackie moved faster than thought. The grandfather's mask fell away, revealing the police officer who'd faced down armed triads. He flowed toward Rico, each step calculated to draw fire away from Lucy. Rico's gun tracked him, firing. The first shot went wide as Jackie spiraled left. The second passed through empty air where he'd been a heartbeat before. By the third, Jackie was inside Rico's guard. No gentle redirect this time. Jackie's palm struck Rico's wrist, nerve clusters. Screaming as the gun flew free. His other hand found Rico's throat, not to crush but to control, spinning the larger man into a chokehold that cut blood flow to the brain. Sleep, Jackie whispered. Rico collapsed, unconscious but alive. The entire sequence took 3 seconds. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Security swarmed Rico. Morrison tried to run, and commissioners dove under desks. Through it all, Jackie stood perfectly still, the mask sliding back into place. Everyone safe? He asked mildly. Lucy threw herself into his arms, sobbing. Around them, order slowly returned. Morrison, tackled by security, screamed threats and promises. You're finished, Chen. I have resources. You can't imagine. I'll destroy everyone you know. Commissioner Patterson's voice cut through the noise. You're finished, Mr. Morrison. Based on the evidence presented, this commission finds no wrongdoing by Mr. Chen. Furthermore, we're recommending immediate criminal investigation into Duke Morrison for drug trafficking, assault, conspiracy, and attempted murder. The bot commissioners tried to object, but Patterson overruled them. Any commissioner who disagrees can explain their reasoning to the FBI, who I'm told are waiting outside. Indeed, federal agents entered, badges gleaming. Morrison's face went white as they read him his rights. 30 years of carefully built corruption crumbled in minutes. This isn't over. Morrison screamed as they dragged him away. You hear me, Chen? This isn't over. But it was. Rico Vance, revived and cuffed, broke completely. Names, dates, bribes, everything spilled out in his desperation for a deal. By afternoon, half of Morrison's network was in custody. Outside the courthouse, Phoenix's senior community waited. As Jackie emerged, they erupted in celebration. Dorothy waved her walker like a victory flag. Harold's grandson stood beside him, shame and pride warring on his young face. Maria led a prayer of thanksgiving. So what now? Pete asked. The restaurant's gone. Community centers torched. We rebuild, Nancy Huang announced. She held up her phone. Steele's video went viral. Donations are pouring in. 50,000. So far. The real estate company that bought your building? They're offering it back, free and clear. Seems they don't want the publicity of evicting a folk hero. I'm no hero, Jackie protested. Tell that to them. Lucy pointed at the growing crowd. Young and old, all races, all backgrounds. They'd seen what one man standing for his community could accomplish. Steele approached slowly, Tank Williams. Supporting him. Mr. Chen, Sifu, would you accept me as a student? A real student this time? First lesson, Jackie said gently. We rebuild the community center. With our hands. Together. I can do that. As the crowd dispersed, Susan Chong approached. So, the exclusive interview? The world wants to know Jackie Chan's story. The world knows all it needs to. Jackie smiled. An old man serves dim sum and teaches seniors to defend themselves. Nothing more. Nothing more. Susan laughed. If you say so, Sifu. The war was won, but battles remained. Morrison's lawyers would appeal. The community center needed rebuilding. Students required teaching. But tonight, Jackie Chen, not Chan, would cook for his family in his restored kitchen. Tomorrow, they'd begin again. The circle, broken, would be remade stronger. Thursday morning arrived with FBI agents combing through Morrison's financial empire. Each seized document revealed another layer of corruption. Judges, commissioners, police captains, all bought with fight money. But Morrison himself remained defiant in federal custody, refusing plea deals, promising revenge through lawyers who still believed in his power. At the Golden Dragon, Jackie surveyed the damage with contractor Tomas Gutierrez. 3 weeks minimum, Tomas said. New freezers, rewiring, complete kitchen overhaul. Insurance should cover it, but no insurance. Jackie touched the wounded walls. We rebuild with community funds. That'll take longer and cost more. Then we'll work together. Many hands make light work. By noon, volunteers filled the restaurant. Steele arrived in work clothes, still moving gingerly, but determined. Tank organized crews. Pete led veterans in clearing debris. Even Harold's grandson Marcus showed up, sheepish but willing. My grandfather says I owe you an apology, Marcus mumbled. You owe yourself the truth, Jackie replied, handing him a broom. Start here. Lucy coordinated supplies while fielding calls. Johns Hopkins had reconsidered her application in light of recent events demonstrating extraordinary moral character. 3 other medical schools expressed interest, but she wasn't ready to leave, not yet. At the burned community center, Nancy Huang met with architects. The donated funds would cover basic reconstruction, but she dreamed bigger, a true community hub with medical clinic, veteran services, youth programs. We need 3 times what we have, she told Jackie during his visit. Then we'll raise it. How? Morrison's gone, but his influence lingers. Major donors are still scared. That evening, an unexpected solution arrived. California developer Michael Chong, no relation, appeared at Pete's apartment where Jackie was staying. Mr. Chan, I've followed your story. My grandfather trained at the Beijing Opera School, same as you. He always said the martial arts were about community, not combat. Your grandfather was wise. He also left me very wealthy. Michael smiled. I want to fund the community center rebuild. Completely. No strings, no naming rights. Just honor. Jackie studied the younger man's face, reading sincerity. Why? Because my grandfather died forgotten in a nursing home while I chased money. This is my apology to his spirit. Let me help Phoenix's elders the way I failed to help him. $2 million. Enough for everything Nancy dreamed and more. But that night brought darker news. 3 of Morrison's mid-level associates had vanished from federal custody during a prisoner transport. The FBI suspected inside help, corrupted guards enabling escape. They'll come for you, Rebecca warned over the phone. Morrison's reach is longer than we thought. Let them come, Jackie said quietly. I'm done running. Friday's dawn found him on the restaurant roof, flowing through forms with renewed purpose. Below, Phoenix stirred to life. His community, wounded but not broken. His students, scattered but not lost. The war wasn't over. Morrison's men were free, seeking revenge. The rebuild would take months. Some scars would never fully heal. But, in the sunrise, Jackie felt something he'd lost in the fight's aftermath: hope. Not the naive hope of youth, but the tempered hope of experience. They'd survive the worst. Together, they'd build something better. His phone buzzed. Lucy texting. Breakfast is ready. Real food this time, not hospital cafeteria sadness. He smiled, completing his final form. Below, his family waited. Blood and chosen, young and old, all united by shared trials. Time to go home. Even if home was currently Pete's kitchen table. Saturday transformed the Golden Dragon into organized chaos. Power tools screamed, hammers rang, and volunteers flowed through the space like a living renovation crew. Steele worked beside Tank, learning construction with the same intensity he'd once learned combinations. Frame goes here, Tank explained. Marking measurements. Just like fight stance, foundation matters most. Never thought I'd be building instead of breaking. Steele wiped sweat, his recovery evident in steady movements. Feels good. Lucy ran the volunteer station, coordinating 60 helpers ranging from teenagers to octogenarians. Dorothy supervised from her walker, directing seasoned expertise despite physical limitations. "That window frame's crooked," she called out. "My late husband was a contractor. I know crooked when I see it." Harold and Marcus worked side by side, 3 generations of Kim men rebuilding what Morrison had tried to destroy. The grandson listened with new attention as Harold explained proper nail angles, patient teachings replacing bitter silence. But shadows lingered. Jackie noticed the watchers, men in cars that circled too slowly, faces that appeared too often. Morrison's escaped associates were probing, testing, waiting. "We need security," Pete suggested during lunch break. "We have it." Jackie nodded toward the room. 60 witnesses with cameras. "They want darkness, we give them light." That afternoon, Michael Chong arrived with architects and contractors. The community center plan spread across makeshift tables, ambitious and beautiful. "Medical clinic here," Nancy explained. "Veterans services adjoining. Youth wing with dedicated martial arts space. Commercial kitchen for expanded meal programs. And the memorial garden." Michael asked, "For those we've lost to hunger, violence, neglect?" "Central courtyard. Visible from every room. So we never forget why we build." Steele studied the martial arts studio plans. "Make it bigger. I want to help teach when I'm ready. Real defense, not just sport." "You barely know basics," Tank reminded him. "Then I'll learn basics for years. However long it takes." Steele looked at Jackie. "That's what you did, right? Decades of foundations before the fancy stuff." "Still learning foundations," Jackie confirmed. "Always beginner, never master." As sunset approached, the restaurant showed dramatic progress. New electrical ran through exposed walls. Plumbing rough-ins marked future efficiency. The kitchen, once crime scene, now promised resurrection. 3 weeks my ass, Tomas laughed. "At this rate, 10 days. Never seen community work like this." But Jackie's phone buzzed with warning. Rebecca texting. Morrison made bail. Federal judge in Nevada, one not on FBI radar. He's coming home. The celebration dimmed. Morrison. Free mint resources mobilized, revenge plotted, danger escalating. The 3 escaped associates were likely already in Phoenix, preparing ground. "Nothing changes," Jackie announced to the worried faces. "We build. They destroy. See who proves stronger." Yet that night, he walked Pete's neighborhood in expanding circles, memorizing escape routes, defensive positions, sight lines. The police officer's tactical mind mapped terrain while the grandfather's heart planned protection. At 3 a.m., a black sedan cruised past Pete's apartment, slowing at Jackie's window. He watched from shadow as it circled twice more before disappearing. Message received, "We know where you are." He returned to meditation, centering himself for battles ahead. Morrison might be free, but so was Phoenix's spirit. The builder and destroyer would meet again, but this time, Jackie wouldn't stand alone. His phone lit with texts from students, volunteers, supporters. Each message a brick in the wall Morrison sought to topple. Each connection a thread in the net that would catch him. Dawn would bring more work, more progress, more hope. But also, more danger, prowling at the edges of light. The final confrontation approached. Jackie could feel it in his bones, that police instinct for gathering storms. Soon. But not tonight. Tonight, Phoenix slept peacefully, dreaming of tomorrow's possibilities. Sunday dawned with the community center groundbreaking. Despite Morrison's looming threat, hundreds gathered on the charred lot. Mayor Patricia Williams spoke of resilience. Michael Chong wielded a ceremonial shovel. But the moment belonged to the seniors who'd lost their second home. "This place saved me," Maria testified, clutching her rosary. "After Jose died, I wanted to follow. But here, I found reason to wake up." Harold stepped forward, Marcus beside him. 3 generations of Kims will build this together. What fire took, family restores. Jackie remained in the background until Dorothy called him forward. "None of this happens without Mr. Jimmy. He showed us strength isn't muscle. It's showing up." As Jackie touched the shovel, movement caught his eye. 3 men at the crowd's edge, watching with predator focus. Morrison's escaped associates, bold enough to appear publicly. He handed the shovel back, whispering to Pete, "Get everyone inside the tent. Now." But the attack came from unexpected direction. A news van exploded, percussion wave knocking elderly attendees down. Screams erupted as smoke billowed. In the chaos, the 3 men advanced on Jackie. No crowd to witness now. No cameras. Just smoke and terror. Jackie moved to intercept, keeping them away from fallen seniors. The first man swung a pipe. Jackie redirected it into his partner's knee. The second pulled a knife. Jackie used his momentum to send him into a concrete barrier. The third, smarter, feinted before drawing a gun. Time slowed. Jackie saw Lucy helping Dorothy up, exposed. Pete shielding Maria with his body. His students, his family, all vulnerable. The gunman smiled, aiming at Lucy. Morrison sends his regards. Jackie's restraint shattered. 40 years of control versus one moment of necessary violence. He crossed the distance impossibly fast, hand finding the gunman's wrist as the weapon fired skyward. The follow-through wasn't gentle redirection, but precise application of force. Bones broke. The man screamed, dropping. All three attackers. Down in 12 seconds. Alive but incapacitated. As smoke cleared, cameras caught the aftermath. Jackie Chan kneeling beside injured seniors, checking injuries, calling instructions. The hero narrative solidified despite his wishes. But Morrison had made his point. Nowhere was safe. That evening, Steele made a decision. I'm moving into the restaurant. Someone needs to guard it at night. Too dangerous, Tank protested. Everything's dangerous now. At least there I'm useful. Lucy made similar plans. I'll take shifts. We all will. A protection rotation emerged, volunteers guarding their investment, community defending itself. Pete organized veterans with concealed carry permits. Nancy arranged legal observers. Even recovering Dorothy insisted on phone duty. He wants us scared, she declared from her hospital bed. Instead, we get smart. Monday's news brought mixed blessings. The three attackers were arrested, their testimony implicating Morrison. But his lawyers claimed rogue employees acting without authorization. Morrison himself appeared on television, tailored and sympathetic. I deplore violence, he lied smoothly. If former associates chose revenge, that's on them, not me. I'm a businessman, not a gangster. But the FBI wasn't fooled. Agent Sarah Chen, actually related to Jackie, distantly, visited the restaurant. We're building a RICO case. Racketeering, conspiracy, attempted murder. But Morrison's careful. We need him to make a mistake. He will, Jackie said quietly. Pride demands it. You sound certain. 40 years ago, I cost him face in Hong Kong. Such men can't let that go. He'll come personally, eventually. And you'll be ready? Jackie looked at his students working, building, protecting each other. We'll be ready. That night, motion sensors Pete installed triggered at 2 a.m. Jackie woke instantly, flowing from bed to window. A lone figure stood across the street, watching. Morrison himself. No lawyers, no guards. Just two old enemies measuring each other across pavement and time. They stood motionless for long minutes, silent conversation of threat and counter-threat. Then Morrison smiled, tipped an imaginary hat, and vanished into darkness. The message was clear. This ends between us. Jackie returned to bed, but not sleep. Tomorrow, the restaurant would reopen. Tomorrow, life would resume. But soon, very soon, the past would demand its final reckoning. The Golden Dragon's reopening drew lines around the block. Channel 12 broadcast live as Jackie unlocked doors to thunderous applause. Inside, volunteers had worked miracles. New equipment gleaming, photos restored and rehung, memories preserved in fresh paint and polished wood. Order whatever you want, Jackie announced. Today, Phoenix eats free. Lucy coordinated servers while Steele, sporting an apron, bussed tables with focused intensity. Tank worked the host station. Pete manned the register he'd donated. Even Harold's grandson Marcus took orders, earnest in his redemption. Table 6 wants spring rolls, Marcus reported. Extra sauce. Table 6 gets whatever Table 6 desires, Jackie smiled, hands dancing through familiar preparations. The day blurred in celebration. Mayor Williams stopped by, declaring it Jimmy Chin Day in Phoenix. Reporters sought interviews. Jackie politely declined. Donations poured in, the community center fund reaching $4 million. But beneath joy lurked watchfulness. Agent Chen had positioned undercovers throughout. Everyone knew Morrison would strike. They just didn't know when. At 3 p.m., during peak lunch rush, he walked in alone. Conversation died. Servers froze. In the kitchen, Jackie felt the shift like atmospheric pressure dropping. Morrison took a corner booth, immaculate in gray silk. "Tea," he told Lucy. "Jasmine, your grandfather knows how I like it." Lucy's hand trembled as she poured, but her voice stayed steady. "Anything else? Just a conversation with the proprietor. When he has a moment." Jackie emerged from the kitchen, crossing the dining room while dozens held their breath. He sat across from Morrison, movements deliberate. 40 years, Morrison said softly. 40 years I've waited for this moment. The moment when you're exposed, bankrupted, and facing life in prison. Morrison's laugh was winter wind. The moment when I take everything from you. Watch. He produced a detonator from his pocket. Funny thing about construction sites. So many opportunities for accidents. Your new community center, for instance. All those volunteers there right now. Jackie's expression never changed. You'd murder innocents for a 40-year grudge? I'd burn the world to see you suffer. Morrison's thumb hovered over the button. Unless. Face me. Tonight. Midnight. The old warehouse district. Just us. No weapons, no witnesses, no rules. The way it should have been in Hong Kong. And if I refuse? Morrison smiled. Then I pushed this button and explained to investigators how tragic that gas leak was. How many seniors are there right now? 30? 40? Around the restaurant, people edged toward exits. Agent Chen's hand drifted to her weapon, but Jackie remained perfectly still. I accept. Jackie, no. Lucy started forward. The young lady stays. Morrison's thumb twitched. We conclude our business without interference. He stood, leaving the detonator on the table. Midnight. Building 47. Don't disappoint me. After he left, chaos erupted. Agent Chen grabbed the device. A fake, she determined quickly. But other devices might be real. Bomb squads raced to the community center, finding nothing. Psychological warfare, she concluded. He's trying to. I know what he's trying. Jackie returned to his kitchen, and I'll give it to him. You can't seriously intend to meet him alone. I've run from this for 15 years. No more. That evening, the restaurant filled with friends refusing to leave. Dorothy arrived by medical transport. Harold brought his entire extended family. Maria organized a prayer circle. Even recovering enemies came. 3 of Steele's former opponents, offering support to the man who'd shown mercy. We go with you, Pete declared, backed by 20 veterans. You stay here, Jackie countered. This is my debt to pay. Our debt, Steele corrected. I started this. Let me finish it. You finish it by becoming better, teaching others, building instead of breaking. Jackie touched the younger man's shoulder. That's your path. This is mine. At 11:30, Jackie prepared in silence. No special outfit, no weapons. Just the grandfather who served dim sum, walking toward a reckoning 4 decades in the making. Lucy caught him at the door. You promised to teach me the advanced forms. I will. Tomorrow. Promise me tomorrow exists. He kissed her forehead. Tomorrow always exists. We just have to be strong enough to reach it. Outside, Phoenix held its breath. In the warehouse district, shadows gathered. 2 old men, one last dance. Jackie walked into darkness, carrying his community's hopes and his own acceptance of whatever came next. Behind him, the golden dragon glowed with warm light and waiting family. The circle would close tonight. How it ended would determine everything that followed. But one truth remained constant. True strength protected. It built. It served. It never stood alone. Morrison waited in the warehouse, also alone. 2 paths converged after 40 years of divergence. Time to end it, once and for all. If you liked the story, please watch another story on our channel and subscribe to the channel.